Hello, my dear students. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to everyone. So now, today we are going to start one new IND AS. So the IND AS we are going to discuss is IND AS 16. So IND AS 16 basically deals with property, plant and equipment. Property, plant, equipment. So in short, we will call it as PPE. So this is what we are going to discuss. IND AS 16. So we know assets are integral part of any business. Very important resources for an organization. Every organization generally will have a building, so a factory maybe for production, plant and machineries which are used in production, maybe furniture and fittings, office equipment, so computers, and an organization may have softwares, so may have patents. So different kinds of assets an organization may have, right? Now basically these assets we will classify into two types. Tangible assets, tangible fixed assets, intangible fixed assets. Tangible, intangible. Tangible fixed assets means where the physical substance is main. Intangible fixed assets means they does not have any physical substance. So tangible fixed assets like buildings, land, plant and machinery, office equipment, furniture and fixtures, computers, equipment, vehicles. All these things are tangible fixed assets, physical assets. Intangible fixed assets means where physical substance is not there. Like for example, software, like patents, copyrights, trademark. All these are intangible fixed assets. Now, for tangible fixed assets, there is a accounting standard, that is IND AS 16, which exclusively deals with accounting treatment of tangible fixed assets. So these tangible fixed assets will be called as PPE, property, plant, equipment. So PPE are tangible fixed assets. So for the accounting treatment of tangible fixed assets, we have a separate standard IND AS 16. So for intangible assets, sir, see, for intangible assets, there is a separate accounting standard. There is a separate accounting standard which exclusively deals with intangible assets. See here, IND AS 38. So for intangible assets, we have IND AS 38. So I think this standard is not there in your syllabus. So we have only 12 standards in CMA final level. So we have IND AS 16. But for intangible fixed assets, there is a separate standard IND AS 38. Okay. So for any business organization, assets are important resources. These assets basically classified into two types: tangible fixed assets, intangible fixed assets. Tangible fixed assets are physical assets. we can see, we can, directly use them. Intangible fixed assets means they does not have physical substance. So they are in the form of rights, they are in the form of formulas, they are in the form of software, okay, program. Now in your syllabus you have this one, tangible fixed assets. These tangible fixed assets we will call it as property, plant, equipment generally. But what is property, plant, equipment as per IND AS 16 we will discuss. But in general I am telling that, so tangible fixed assets will become property, plant, equipment. Okay. Now sir, why there is a need of separate accounting standard for accounting of tangible fixed assets or PPE? See, suppose you take an asset. First you will acquire the asset. When you acquire an asset, you need to recognize in the books. So what is the point? Recognition. When you are going to recognize an asset in your books, and at what value you will recognize the asset in your books, and how will you provide a depreciation on that asset, and at what value you carry that asset in the balance sheet, and once the asset is life is over, when you dispose, when will you de-recognize the asset? All the concepts relating to the asset. So the journey of the asset right from its beginning till the date it is removed from the books, every aspect of the assets accounting treatment is need to be addressed. That's why they brought a separate accounting standard. So otherwise what happens now? So assets are very, very important resources. Suppose if there is no prescribed principles, what business organizations will do? So they will overcapitalize the assets. They will undervalue the assets. So whenever they want, they will overvalue. Whenever they want to show more net worth, more assets, so they will overvalue. So in a way, if there is no proper guidance and there is no proper principles, so there is a chance that there will not be any uniformity and there is a scope for any overvaluation or undervaluation of assets. So in a way, it will directly affect the true and fair view of financial statements. So therefore, so they come up with Indian Accounting Standard 16, which exclusively prescribes the principles for accounting treatment of PPE. Okay. So this we don't have in our syllabus in CMA final. So this is not there, but this is there in our syllabus. Okay. Now let us start first discussing what is property, plant, equipment. We understood tangible fixed assets will become PPE. But what exactly, when a tangible fixed asset will be called as PPE? So let me define as per IND AS 16 what is property, plant, equipment. See, so the topic number 1 of this standard is definition of PPE. Definition of PPE. See, this standard basically it covers entire journey of PPE. So property, plant, equipment is an asset, tangible fixed asset. Okay, basically this tangible fixed assets entire journey from starting to ending, whatever the aspects are there relating to assets, everything is covered in this standard. Generally, what aspects are covered? Recognition, initial measurement, any subsequent cost, how to determine the cost, and what value we need to show it in the balance sheet. Okay, and how to provide depreciation. All these things will be covered under this standard. So that's why I am not writing any specific topic relating to PPE. There are number of topics. You understand? See, you imagine, you analyze yourself. So imagine yourself, there is a plant and machinery or there is a building. Okay. Now, right from the beginning to the end, what aspects are there in respect of an asset? For example, I purchased a car. Now, when I purchase a car, first I need to recognize the car in the books. At what value you will recognize? Guided by IND AS 16. Okay. After recognition, if any subsequent cost incurred on that asset, how you are going to deal with it? That is also addressed by IND AS 16. Okay. Now, how to provide depreciation on this car? What method I need to follow? What aspects I need to consider to provide depreciation? That is also addressed by IND AS 16. And now, at the end of the year, I need to show the WDV of the asset in the balance sheet. So that is called carrying amount. At what value I need to show the asset value in the balance sheet? What are the methods available? So that is also addressed by IND AS 16. And one fine day, the asset loses its value. It is no more generating any benefits. So we need to derecognize from the books. So when we have to derecognize, what is the derecognition criteria? Also given in IND AS 16. So in a way, the entire journey of one asset is covered under this standard. Okay. So you simply remember that every tangible fixed asset may become PPE if it satisfies the definition of PPE. Then right from the beginning till the end, what are the different aspects relating to assets? All those aspects are covered under this standard. Okay. Now let me first discuss about the definition of PPE. Now, IND AS 16 says, sir, PPE is a tangible asset. So property, plant, equipment are tangible assets which satisfy two conditions to become PPE. So there are two conditions important. If these two conditions are satisfied now, then such tangible asset is called PPE. What are the two conditions? First, tangible assets are, PPE are tangible assets which are held for use. So condition number one, I can say that held for use. So PPE are what? Tangible assets. And these tangible assets are held for. We are held. The asset, the organization is hold them for use. Held for use. Where? Held for use in production, supply of goods or services, or maybe for rental to others, or maybe for administration purpose. See, in an organization, we will use the assets in the production process, or maybe we will use the assets for supplying of goods or services. For example, for transportation of our stock, we use our vehicles. So vehicles are the tangible assets which we held for use in supplying of goods or services, or rental to others. Sometimes the assets we held for rental to others, for earning rental income. For example, an organization has having one land. Now they want to lease this land and want to earn some rental income. Now that means land is a tangible asset held for use, held for rental to others. So here, why tangible assets are held? For any purpose, be it use in production of goods or supply of goods or services, or be it rental to others, or maybe for administration purpose also. Organizations sometimes need assets for admin purpose also. So held for use in production, maybe this asset is held for use in production, or maybe supply of goods or services, possible supply of goods or services, or maybe these assets are held for rental to others. So we don't want to use it in production or supply of goods or services, but maybe we will use it for rental to others. That means even an asset which is held by an enterprise, tangible asset held for the purpose of earning rental income, that is also maybe become property, plant, equipment, provided second condition is also satisfied. I'm talking about only first condition. So PPEs are tangible assets which are held for use in production or supply of goods, rental to others, or maybe administrative purposes. Administrative purposes. Sir, what is administrative purpose? See, Administrative purpose may be for an organization. You take one organization. In that organization, there will be lot of functions like selling and distribution function, maybe accounting, finance department function. Like that, there will be lot of functions. So that will be covered under administrative purpose. So administrative purpose means, for example, for transportation of employees, we purchase one bus. That means bus is a tangible asset which is held for use in administrative purpose. What is administration purpose here? For example, we want to, use this bus to transport our employees from their home to office, office to home. So many companies nowadays hiring cabs or maybe purchasing cabs or purchasing buses for transportation of their employees. Now this bus is a tangible asset which they held for administrative purpose. What is administration purpose here? For carrying the employees from one place to another place. Maybe for example, in accounts department, they purchased one AC for accounts department, or maybe they purchased one high-end printer. So maybe they purchased one computer system for accounts department. So these are all administrative purpose only. So please understand, administrative purpose means the scope is so wider. Maybe that asset will be used in selling and distribution. Maybe that asset is used in accounting and finance. All things are covered under administrative purpose. Okay. So what is PPE? Tangible assets held for use in production or supply of goods, rental to others, or administrative purpose. So held for use where? In production or supply of goods, or rental to others, or administration purpose. And condition number 2, the most important condition, held for and expected to be used. Expected to be used during more than one accounting period. One accounting period. Or expected to be used for more than one period, 1 year. Okay, expected to be used for more than 1 year. So this is condition number 2. So that means, first of all, you need to consider tangible asset. Tangible assets means where physical substance is important. For example, you take car, or you take one plant and machinery, or you take one building. Okay, tangible asset. Held for. Condition number 1. You see why organization is holding that building. Is it for use in production or supply of goods? Yes, sir. It is held for use in production or supply of goods. Then it becomes PPE. No, you have to see second condition also. What is second condition? Held for use in production or supply of goods and expected to be used during more than one accounting period. More than one accounting period. And that asset we want to use it for more than one accounting period. More than one accounting period. For example, plant and machinery held for use in production and we are expecting to use it for more than 1 year. So therefore it becomes property, plant, equipment. Sometimes rental to others. Rental to others. For example, organization is having one building. Now they held that building for rental income and they expected to use it for more than one accounting period. So that will also become our PPE. So suppose if the building is used for use in production or supply of goods and it is expected to be used for more than one accounting period, that is also PPE. If the building is expected to be used, held it for earning rental income and use it for more than 1 year, that is also PPE. And administrative purpose. Sometimes you held the assets for the purpose of administration. Okay, for admin functions of the organization. Admin includes selling and distribution, accounts and finance, all those things. Okay, so this is what, sir. So therefore, tell me, Nana, in order to become property, plant, equipment, so how many conditions are there? 2 conditions. So tell me, first of all, which assets will become PPE? Tangible assets. Whether all tangible assets will become PPE? No, they have to satisfy 2 conditions. One is they are held for use in production or supply of goods or services, or maybe for rental to others, or maybe for administrative purposes. So first they have to fit into the first condition. They held for any of these things. Sir, they are not going to be used in production or supply of goods. They are not going to be held for rental to others, or they are not going to be used for administrative purpose also. Then first condition is failed. Sir, is there any kind of assets which the organization is held without using in production or supply of goods, without rental to others, without administrative purpose? What kind of assets organization may have? Generally, see, all kind of tangible fixed assets will fit into this first condition. Suppose if they are not fitting into any of these things, so generally they will not be considered as property, plant, equipment. And second condition is, once they satisfy condition number 1, can I call them as PPE? No. The most important condition is they must be expected to be used during more than one accounting period. Now that property, plant, equipment, in order to call the tangible asset as property, plant, equipment, we are expecting it to use it for more than one accounting period. Suppose you are expecting to use it for less than 1 year, so not more than 1 year, then that is not property, plant, equipment. Suppose for example you purchased a building, with what intention? Suppose you want to sell it within 1 year. That means you don't want to, or you are not supposed to expect it to use it for more than 1 year, one accounting period. Therefore you should not consider it as property, plant, equipment. So therefore both the conditions must be satisfied. You must held that asset for these purposes, and you are expecting it to use it for more than one accounting period. Then only it will become property, plant, equipment. So first of all, since we are discussing IND AS 16, we should understand what is property, plant, equipment. So from now onwards, you should understand, whenever you hear the word property, plant, equipment, your answer should be, okay, this is nothing but tangible fixed asset. The moment I use the word fixed asset, general presumption is it is useful for long period. That means more than 1 year. Otherwise, why I use the word fixed asset? What is the meaning of using the word fixed asset? Fixed asset means it is there in the business, permanent, not permanently, but for a long period of time. Then only I will use the word fixed asset. Okay. It kind of a non-current asset. Current asset generally 1 year, 12 months or less than 12 months. That we call it as current asset. So it is a kind of a non-current asset, but of physical nature. So tangible asset which is held for any one of these purposes, or sometimes a combination also. Maybe rental to others, maybe administrative purposes, maybe use in production or supply of goods or services. For example, we have a building. Suppose the building is having 2 floors. First floor we are using it for office purpose. Second floor we have given it for rentals. So that means we are held the asset for use in the production and or for supply of goods or services, or for administrative purpose, or maybe rental to others. That is also possible. But apart from the first condition, you have to see whether it is expected to be used for during more than 1 year or not. And here, what is the meaning of the word administrative purpose, sir? Administrative purpose is a broader term which includes, in the organization, except production, there are so many departments. Now these departments also will use assets, different kinds of tangible fixed assets. They are all generally covered under administrative purposes. Okay. So first I have discussed property, plant, equipment definition, sir. Now see the notes. First itself I have given this definition of PPE, because see, I know before going into the standard, first we should understand what is property, plant, equipment. Then only we will understand other things very easily. So first we will try to understand what is property, plant, equipment. So see this definition, I made it very clear here. So definition of PPE. So this is the definition as per the standard, as per the IND AS 16. IND AS 16, property, plant, equipment. Important examination point of view. Definitely you can expect one question. So this is a practical, standard. Not like IND AS 8 where there is a theory. So, but this standard is very, very important. Definitely you can expect one question from this standard generally. What is property, plant, equipment? I told PPE are tangible items. Tangible items. How many conditions? 2 conditions. Condition number 1, held for. Condition number 2, expected to be. And in between there is and. Both the conditions must be satisfied. Held for. So why you are holding these tangible items? Use in production. For example, plant and machinery, held for use in production. Factory building, held for use in production. or supply of goods or services. Any asset which is used for supply of goods or services, for example vehicles we use for supply of goods, or maybe for example we are using computer systems, mobile phones, laptops for supply of services. For example, ours is a service oriented organization. How can we render our services? Suppose for example we are, for rendering of our services we are using computer systems, we are using all kinds of electronic items. So that is supply of goods or services held for use in production, or supply of goods or services, or maybe for rental to others. Important, sir, any asset, any tangible asset you held for rental to others is also property, plant, equipment. Okay. Next, for administrative purposes, for admin purposes. So admin purposes, I told one example where a company purchased a bus for transportation of its employees, or maybe a company purchased a computer system for its accounting department. So all these are what? Administrative purpose. And expected to be, we are expecting it used during more than one period. So this is important. More than one period. Don't use 12 months. See, if you read normal AS, same definition they say, which is expected to be used for more than 12 months. But here IND AS have not used the word 12 months. They have used the word more than one period. So here you should not write one accounting period, but for your understanding I have written here, but you have to write one period. Generally one period means one financial year. Okay, I mean 1 year, but you cannot interpret like that. Definition means definition. It has to be learned exactly. So therefore we are expecting it to use it for more than one period. Okay, so this is called property, plant, equipment. See, previously we have normal AS, right? In normal AS there is a standard called AS 10 which talks about PPE. Now IND AS 16, normal standard AS 10. So normal AS 10 also using the same definition, sir, but except here 12 months. In the normal standard they use 12 months, but here one period, more than one period. Okay, now we understood any tangible item, in order to become a property, plant, equipment, it has to be hold it for any one of these three purposes, and we are expecting it to use it for more than one accounting period. Okay. Next, I have given a one note point here, important note, sir. Spare parts, standby equipment. Spare parts and standby equipment. Sir, what is the treatment of spare parts and standby equipment? First of all, what is spare parts? See, spare part means in plant and machinery, there will be small equipments we will consume regularly. Now, those are called spare parts. Like for example, bolts, screws, jigs, fixtures, molds, dies. These are small equipment. Now, these spare parts, whether they will be considered as property, plant, equipment, or they will be considered as inventory. Generally, they say, IND AS 16 says, you need to apply the definition of PPE. Just now we have seen two conditions. If spare parts satisfy the definition of PPE, that means they are held for use in production or supply of goods or services, rental to others, or for administrative purposes, and expected to be used for more than one accounting period. Generally, if they satisfy the definition of PPE, then apply IND AS 16. Otherwise, treat them as inventory. That is what I have written here. See, spare parts, if it meets the definition of PPE, apply IND AS 16. Important, they may ask it as MCQ. Spare parts, whether they will be considered as, sir, generally spare parts means small items, no, sir. Why they will be considered as property, plant, equipment? See, that's why you have to apply whether these spare parts satisfy the definition of PPE or not. If they are held for and expected to be used for more than one accounting period, that means if they satisfy the definition of PPE, then you apply IND AS 16 only for accounting of spare parts. Otherwise, treat it as inventory, that is apply IND AS 2. We have a standard called IND AS 2 which exclusively talks about inventory accounting. So apply that standard. Similarly, the same treatment is applied for standby equipment. What is standby equipment? See, sometimes certain equipments we will use in the factory. Suppose because of any reason they may got failure. maybe breakdown, maybe because of equipment, we will use it for overtime or overloading. Because of that, the equipment may not function. So in such a situation, in order to make sure that the production will continue, so we will keep one standby equipment. Sir, what is the accounting treatment of that standby equipment? Same, apply the definition of PPE. If it satisfies the definition of PPE, then apply IND AS 16. Otherwise, treat it as inventory. So therefore, spare parts and standby equipment. So simple treatment. If they satisfy the definition of PPE, apply IND AS 16. Otherwise, IND AS 2. Otherwise, they will be treated as inventory. Okay. So let us see. Try to see what will be considered as spare parts. See, these are spare parts. You see here, lot of parts you can find here. Generally, these are the small equipments we will use in production. Like this, like bolt, screws, small dice, jigs, fixtures. So these are all, generally will be called as what? Spare parts. Now these spare parts, if they satisfy the definition of PPE, apply IND AS 16. Otherwise, generally inventory. I think generally they will be considered as inventory only. Of course, in examination, if they ask, you have to write. Two possibilities are there. Similarly, standby equipment also. Standby equipment also. Okay. So that means we have completed the definition of PPE. We have completed the definition of PPE. So what is PPE? PPE are tangible items which are held for use in production or supply of goods or services, rental to others, or for administrative purposes, and which are expected to be used during more than one period. And what about spare parts and standby equipment? You tell me how to treat spare parts. So spare parts, standby equipment, what is the treatment? Spare parts and standby equipment. Simple treatment. If PPE definition satisfied, okay, apply IND AS 16. Simple. Apply IND AS 16. If PPE definition not satisfied, suppose they are not satisfied, then apply IND AS 2. That means inventory. They will be considered as what? Inventory. That's it. Next. Now moving into the main part of the standard, because we learned what is property, plant, equipment. So this standard talks about the accounting treatment of all kinds of PPE. So basically PPE means what? Tangible fixed assets. Tangible fixed assets. Okay. So look at the objective of this standard, sir. So every standard will have its objective. Why this standard came? See, the object will be mentioned in the standard itself. So what is the object of IND AS 16? See, the object of this standard is to prescribe the accounting treatment for PPE. What will be the accounting treatment? When asset will be recognized in the books? At what value? At what value it will be carried in the balance sheet? How depreciation will be provided? What are the accounting entries we need to pass? All these things will be discussed in IND AS 16. So this is the first object of the standard. And second thing is, it helps the users of financial statements to find out information about entities' investment in PPE and the changes in such investment. See, I told you, assets are an integral part of the organization balance sheet. So one of the key parameters talks about how the company is financially. Is company financially very strong? So we will see what is the asset base of the company. If the assets are solid, then we say this is a good company. Its financial base is so strong, right? So therefore, how much company is spending, how much amount they are investing in tangible fixed assets, property, plant, equipment. Users wants to know how much amount company is spending in the acquisition of tangible fixed assets like property, plant, equipment, and what changes are made in the investment. Like for example, what is the opening balance of assets, what is the closing balance of asset, during there how much purchases we have made, how much sale of assets we have done, what changes happen to the asset because of depreciation and amortization and impairment losses. All these things we want to know. So this standard IND AS 16 provide the information relating to the investment in PPE to the users of financial statements. How, sir? By making some disclosures in the financial statements. If you read IND AS 16, sir, at the end we have some disclosures. What disclosures we need to make in respect of PPE is also prescribed in IND AS 16. Now, according to those disclosures, how much amount company invested in PPE, what changes happened in the investments, all this information we will present through becomes mandatory as per IND AS 16. So therefore, it helps the users of financial statements to understand how much company has invested in its assets. So that is also providing requisite information about investment in PP is also one of the object of this standard. Not only providing accounting treatment, and also this standard will address certain principal issues relating to PPE. So the principal issues in accounting for PPE, like recognition of assets. Sir, first of all, when an asset will be recognized? For example, an organization acquired a plant and machinery. When that plant and machinery will be recognized in the books? That is the one of the important issue. So the recognition criteria, that issue is prescribed by standard. So for example, we have acquired one plant and machinery. So whether this plant and machinery will be recognized at the time of acquisition or at the time of using it for production. So what is the criteria for recognition in the books? That principles are prescribed by IND AS 16. And also determination of the carrying amount. So this is also very important, because at the end of the year we will prepare balance sheet. In balance sheet we need to show all assets and all liabilities. Suppose at what value you will show the asset, what is the carrying amount of the asset. So that is also addressed by IND AS 16. And also I told you depreciation charges. So depreciation is one of the key element. So it will affect both P&L account as well as balance sheet. So depreciation is nothing but the estimated loss of the asset. So that loss we need to show, we need to calculate. So how we need to calculate, what methodology we have to use, what is the depreciable amount, addressed by this standard. And also impairment losses. See, what is impairment losses? Actually, we have a separate standard for impairment losses. Separate IND AS is there. So, but what is impairment losses? See, apart from depreciation, a tangible fixed asset like PPE may subject to different kinds of losses. Maybe loss due to obsolescence of technology, loss due to outdated futures, maybe loss due to introduction of the new product in the market. So an asset may loses its value because of so many reasons, not only because of depreciation. So technically that will be called as impairment losses. So impairment means loss in value of an asset due to reasons other than depreciation. Now actually this impairment losses also we need to calculate. So that issue is also addressed by IND AS 16. So therefore, what is the object of IND AS 16? First thing is providing accounting treatment. Accounting treatment of PPE. What is the accounting treatment of PPE? Second thing is it will provide information relating to how much investment is made by the organization in the PPE. And most important thing, the principal issues relating to the recognition of assets, like determination of the carrying amount, recognition of an asset, determination of the carrying amounts, depreciation charges, impairment losses to be recognized. All these things are addressed by IND AS 16. So this is only objective, you are not required to remember, but understand, to get the completeness of the standard, first you need to understand what is the object of this standard. Okay, so therefore we covered what is PPE and we understood what object of this standard. As I told you in the beginning, the entire journey of PPE is covered under this standard. So that is what is there in the objective. Simply they said accounting treatment of PPE. That means every aspect relating to PPE, right from recognition, right from determination of carrying amount, right from depreciation and impairment losses, everything is covered in this standard. All kinds of things are prescribed in this standard. Okay, so we understood the objective also. Objective of the standard, why the standard came, so we understood. Now we will discuss the scope of the standard. Sir, first of all, what is scope, sir? See, scope means the areas of coverage. Every standard has its own limitations. See, the standard is drafted keeping in view certain aspects. So it is not possible to draft a single standard which will address all the issues. So every standard will have its own area, its have own limitations. Like for example, you take IND AS 16. Now whether IND AS 16 is going to address all kinds of PPE, I mean all kinds of tangible fixed assets, the answer is no. Because if any PPE, see when I use the word PPE, my intention is tangible fixed asset which satisfy the definition, those two conditions. Okay, so when any PPE, if the accounting treatment is covered in some other accounting standard, then this standard is silent. So always you have to remember, in accounts, in standards, we may have specific IND AS and we may have general IND AS. So specific IND AS means specifically covering that particular area. General IND AS means generally it will cover all aspects relating to that area. So when there is a specific IND AS, always give preference to specific over general. So therefore, if any item, for example, investment property is also PPE. Now, if you see for investment property, see here, IND AS 40 talks about investment property. That means here, if there is any investment property for your organization, you should not apply IND AS 16. No, you should not apply, because there is a specific standard. Always specific prevails over general. Now, I am going to give you little bit elaboration here. First of all, what is investment property? Investment property. See, investment property means investment in land or building. So, what is investment property? Investment in land or building. Land or building. Sir, why you purchase land or building? For rental income. For which purpose? For rental income or capital appreciation. Capital appreciation. Not for use in business. We don't want to use this land or building in business, but we want to earn some income. Or we purchase a land and building for growth in value. I mean for capital appreciation. For example, organization having some surplus funds, so they purchased a land in a particular area. Now they thought that, see, this land in future the value will grow. So the company have invested 10 crores in this land. Now what is the intention behind this 10 crores investment in this land? Because they want capital appreciation. Suppose after 5 years this will become another 10 crores, so it will become 20 crores. So for that purpose we invested, that is called capital appreciation. Now see here, when an organization purchases any land or building for capital appreciation, or for rental income. For example, an organization has purchased a building. Now the intention behind is we want to earn some rental income. We don't want to use it in our production or supply of goods or services. I mean, we don't want to basically don't use it for business purpose, but we want to earn some rental income. That is our main objective. So when you invest in any land or building for rental income or for capital appreciation, generally that is called investment property. Sir, you said, see here, in PPE definition, PPEs are tangible assets held for rental to others. Even rental to others is also PPE. Yes, that means investment property is also satisfying the definition of PPE also. Because you purchase a land, you purchase a building. Land or building, both are tangible assets. You held it for rental to others and you are expecting it to use it for more than 12 months, more than one accounting period, more than one period. Therefore, definitely the investment property basically means either the land or building. Okay. Now, this investment property is also satisfying the definition of PPE. But see, even though it is satisfying the definition of PPE, even though IND AS 16 is applicable, but for investment property, there is a separate standard, that is IND AS 40. So therefore, apply that standard. So this is the first point in scope. So whenever we are discussing the scope of any standard, understand if the area which is covered by this standard is addressed, is having any specific standard, follow that standard. See here, this standard shall be applied in accounting for PPE except when another standard requires or permits a different accounting treatment. When any other standards permits or requires different accounting treatment, follow that. That means here specific IND AS prevails over general IND AS. Best example is investment property. Investment property means just now explained, land or building for the purpose of rental income or capital appreciation, not for business use. Now that means it is satisfying the definition of PPE, but there is a separate standard for it, IND AS 40. So you follow IND AS 40. Don't follow IND AS 16 because always specific prevails over general. So therefore, all tangible PPEs are covered under IND AS 16 except if there is any specific standard which prescribe the accounting treatment, we will follow that. Okay. And this standard does not apply to. So these are the important thing. They may be asked for MCQ. So IND AS 16 says, sir, there are certain assets, PPEs, so which are not covered under this standard. So first, PPE classified as held for sale as per IND AS 105. So as per IND AS 105, if PPE classified as held for sale, if PPEs are held for sale as per IND AS 105, this standard is not applicable. See, we have IND AS 105. I will show you. Yeah, IND AS 105. Non-current assets held for sale and discontinuing operation. So there is a standard IND AS 105 which exclusively talks about non-current assets which is held for sale. Non-current assets means generally tangible fixed assets, long-term assets, tangible fixed assets. Now that means here non-current assets held for sale. That means any PPE which is held for sale is covered under IND AS 105. Therefore, here IND AS 16 we should not apply. Because I told you, specific always prevails over general standard. Because when PPE classified for held for sale, so we have a specific standard, IND AS 105. Follow that standard. Don't come to IND AS 16 because we have not drafted any principles relating to it. Okay, so the first one. Second, biological assets relating to agriculture activity other than bearer plant. This is very, very important. So what is the second exception. I mean, this standard is not applicable to biological assets relating to agriculture activity other than bearer plants. So the second thing which is not covered under this standard is biological assets. Biological assets. And these biological assets are related to agricultural activity. You see, agricultural activity, related to agricultural activity. Agricultural activity. Biological assets related to agricultural activity. This standard is not applicable. But they're saying other than bearer plant. That means exception. That means this is covered under IND AS 16. That means bearer plants are covered under IND AS 16. Because they said this standard not apply to biological assets relating to agriculture other than bearer plant. That means for bearer plant this standard is applicable. So the point to understand is for bearer plants, this IND AS is applicable. Important. They may frame the question. Okay, let us decode this. What we are discussing, scope of IND AS 16. IND AS 16 basically talks about property, plant, equipment, that is tangible fixed asset. Okay, this standard says we are not applied to biological assets, that too relating to agriculture activity. But there is one exception, that is bearer plant. That means for bearer plants this standard is applicable. First understand, for bearer plants this standard is applicable. Okay, sir, for biological assets relating to agriculture activity this standard is not applicable. So IND AS 16 not applicable. For this, not applicable. Okay. So first of all, what is biological assets? See, biological assets means living animals or plants. So animals, plants, both living animals, na? Understand, living. Living animals, plants are called biological assets. Plants means trees, different plants. Animals, you know. Living animals or plants. Sir, all kinds of animals and plants. No, related to agricultural activity. Na. Please understand. Only relating to agriculture activity. That means, see, any organization which is into the agriculture activity, agriculture and agriculture related activities, they are doing any agriculture activity. Now, relating to this agriculture activity, whatever the assets they have in the form of animals and plants, living animals and plants. So, for them, the standard is not applicable. Why not? Because there is a separate standard. Here, IND AS 41 is there. What is IND AS 41? IND AS 41 is basically agricultural related standard is there. Separate standard is there. I will show you. See here, IND AS 41 agriculture. So in Indian accounting standard, sir, for agriculture there is a separate standard. So that's why we will follow that standard. So therefore understand, Anna, relating to agriculture. See, generally what kind of assets are related to agriculture? Living animals and plants. Generally in agriculture, the assets will be either the animals we use or the plants, right? So relating to agriculture, there is a separate standard. Therefore, this standard is not applicable. But remember now, in plants, there is one kind of plants called bearer plants. For this standard is applicable. Don't apply IND AS 41. Apply IND AS 16 only. So that means plants except bearer plants are covered under agriculture standard. So IND AS 41. But for only bearer plants, IND AS 16 is applicable. So therefore, can I say this? Agricultural activity, agricultural related assets, agriculture related assets, and you can guess animals, plants, animals, plants, animals only related to agriculture only. You should not say elephant, horse, they are not relating to agriculture. Na? Generally agriculture related goats, sheep, so cows, buffaloes, these are normal agriculture related animals, and plants, different kinds of trees. Agriculture related animals and plants. But see here, in plants, bearer plants, other plants. So agriculture related animals, plants. In plants we have bearer plants, other plants. Now remember, agriculture related assets like animals, plants in other plants, we will apply IND AS 41. We have a separate standard, IND AS 41. But only for this one we will apply IND AS 16. So I think you understood now what point I want to refer is. So IND AS 41 is applicable for what? IND AS 41, agriculture. Tell me, IND AS 41 is applicable for agriculture related animals other than bearer plants, because for bearer plants which standard is applicable? IND AS 16. So this is next thing. Now I need to discuss what is, I told you what is biological assets, you know what is agriculture activity, and what is bearer plants. This is what we need to discuss. I will discuss, wait. So once I complete this scope, then I will discuss what is bearer plant. So tell me, this standard, scope of this standard begins with, always when there is a specific standard, follow that. Now first thing is, when any PPE classified as asset for sale as per IND AS 105, apply that standard. And second one is biological assets relating to agriculture other than bearer plants, not covered under this standard. That means agriculture related assets, any animals, plants other than bearer plants, covered under IND AS 41. Bearer plants alone covered under this standard. So I want you to, grab that point. And third is assets in exploration and evaluation of mineral resources. Sir, generally we will explore minerals, na sir, from sea. Generally they will explore oil, gas, minerals. Okay. Now what assets we are using in exploration and evaluation of mineral resources? I will show you. Assets for exploration and evaluation of mineral resources. Yeah. Yeah, see, these kind of assets generally for exploration of minerals, see, we use different kinds of equipment, na? So the recognition, the accounting, see here. So these are called minerals, resources, explode, right? So different kinds of equipments we will use now. Different kinds of equipments. Look at here. Exploration can be done in any place. See here. Assets in exploration and evaluation of mineral resources. There is a separate standard in IND AS 106 for minerals resources exploration. So there is a separate standard. So we will apply that standard. We will apply that standard in IND AS 106. We don't apply IND AS 16. And similarly, mineral rights and mineral reserves such as oil, natural gas. So any kinds of mineral reserves, okay, mineral resources. The mineral reserves. So to explore any mineral reserve, sir, we need to get, license from government, na, sir. See here. Mineral rights and mineral reserves such as oil, natural gas. We got any kind of right. So that is also not covered here. So these kind of explorations we will do in different places. Not covered. So therefore, 4 exceptions are there for IND AS 16. Tell me what are the exceptions. First thing is any PPE classified or any PPE classified as held for sale as per IND AS 105. So we will follow that standard. Example, investment property. Okay. Sorry, not investment property. So IND AS 105, any non-current assets classified for sale, we will follow that standard. And second thing is any biological assets relating to agriculture activity other than bearer plant. So other than bearer plant, any biological assets relating to agriculture activity, so we will follow that standard. And any assets in exploration and evaluation of mineral resources, we have separate standard IND AS 106. And any mineral rights, mineral reserves are also covered, not covered under this standard. Okay. So next, an entity accounting for investment property in accordance with IND AS 40 investment property shall use the cost model in this standard. Very, very interesting, sir. Sir, I told you what is investment property. For example, we purchased a building for rental income. It is PPE. It is satisfying the definition of PPE and also investment property. So for investment property, we have a separate standard IND AS 40. So we will follow that standard. But there are certain aspects relating to tangible fixed assets PPE are covered under this standard. So therefore, investment property have to follow both IND AS 40 as well as IND AS 16. Sir, once again I am telling, sir. First of all, a building which is purchased, okay, for rental income, tell me, is it PPE or not? Building purchased for rental income. Building purchased for rental income. We invested in building for rental income. Tell me, is it PPE? Is it satisfying the definition of PPE? Yes. And it is generally called as investment property. And which standard we will apply? IND AS 40. There is a separate standard for investment property. We will follow that. Now, if you observe carefully, it is investment property. There is a specific standard. We will follow that. But it is also satisfying the definition of PPE also. But we will not treat it as property plant equipment. We will not treat it as property plant equipment in the balance sheet. We will show it as investment property. And accordingly, we will apply IND AS 40. But there are certain aspects relating to PPE, like tangible fixed assets, are not covered here. Then we need to apply IND AS 16. Like for example, depreciation. Suppose you purchased a building for rental income. So you are treating it as investment property. But how will you provide depreciation? Depreciation must be provided for building. So, but depreciation aspect is not covered in the investment property, Ind AS 40. Therefore, you have to apply Ind AS 16. So that's why they are saying, see, an entity accounting for investment property in accordance with Ind AS 40, investment property shall use which model? Cost model in this standard. So when you are treating any property, plant, equipment as investment property, generally we have to use cost model of this standard to value it. What is cost model? What is revaluation model? I will tell you, because we need to decide the carrying amount of the property, plant, equipment. For deciding carrying amount of the property, plant, equipment in the balance sheet, we have two models: cost model, revaluation model. But for investment property, always we should follow which model? Cost model. Okay, so remember, so this is also MCQ. So property, plant, equipment, investment property. If it is an investment property, always follow cost model. And what is bearer plant, sir? What is bearer plant? So that is what we need to discuss. What is bearer plant as per Ind AS 16? Because Ind AS 16 is applicable for bearer plant. Na? So what is bearer plant? So when a plant will be treated as bearer plant? See, actually standard says a plant will be treated as a bearer plant if it satisfies three conditions. A bearer plant is a living plant that, so three conditions. Bearer plant. Three conditions have to be satisfied. Three conditions must be satisfied. What are the three conditions we need to satisfy in order to call a plant as bearer plant? First, a bearer plant is a plant that is used in production of agriculture produce. So first thing is, it is used in the production or supply of agriculture produce. So first thing is used in production or supply of agriculture produce. Agriculture produce. So that means when a plant will be called as bearer plant means, first of all, that plant must give some produce, agriculture produce. Like for example, mango tree. Mango tree is giving mangoes. So that means it is used in production or supply of agriculture produce. Mangoes or agriculture produce. Okay. For example, I'm taking, or tea bushes, tea plant. Tea plant is giving tea leaves. So tea leaves is an agriculture produce which will be sold, right? So first of all, a plant will be treated as bearer plant. First condition is it must give agriculture produce. Okay. Second thing is it is expected to bear produce for more than 12 months. Expected to bear produce for more than 12 months. More than 12 months means more than one period. So expected to bear produce for more than 12 months or more than one period. Okay. That means this plant must give produce for more than one period. The life should not be 1 year or less. It should be more than one period. For example, mango tree. How many years mango tree will give mangoes? Definitely number of years, 20, 25, 30, depends, right? So, or coconut tree. So coconut tree is giving agriculture produce, coconut, and it is expected to bear produce for more than one period. Definitely it is going to give agriculture produce for more than 1 year. So that the first condition is it must give produce, agriculture produce. Second condition is it must give produce for more than one season, more than one period. And last condition is it cannot be sold as a remote likelihood of being sold as an agriculture produce, except for incidental scrap sales. remote likelihood of being sold as an agriculture produce. That means remote likelihood of being sold as agriculture produce. Remote likelihood of being sold as an agriculture produce, except for incidental scrap sales. Except for incidental scrap sales. Incidental scrap sales. Sir, what is the meaning? See, the bearer plant, the plant you want to call it as a bearer plant, that plant cannot be sold as an agriculture produce. Remote likelihood. Remote means rare. Rare chances that it is sold as an agriculture produce. Sir, tell me, sir, suppose mango tree. Is mango trees cut down and sold, or mangoes will be sold? Mangoes. Coconut tree. Is coconuts will be sold, or coconut tree will be cut down and sold? No. So therefore, the tree should not be grown for its wood for sale. That is the third condition. Remote likelihood of being sold as an agriculture produce, except for incidental scrap sales. That means once the life of the plant is over, then maybe it is cut down and sold. That is okay. But in general, that plant we are growing for its produce, not for selling it as an agriculture produce. But of course, there are certain plants which will exclusively grow for sale. For example, teak tree. So teak tree, why we will grow, sir? We will cut down and sold it as agriculture produce. So it will not become an agriculture produce because condition number 3 is not satisfying. So therefore, in order to become any plant as an agriculture plant, you have to see whether that plant is giving agriculture produce, first thing. Second, is it giving agriculture produce for more than one period, more than one season, more than one period. One period means more than 1 year, like that. Third thing is this plant is sold as an agriculture produce except for incidental scrap sales? No. Remote likelihood of being sold as an agriculture produce. That means very rare chances that it will be sold as an agriculture produce, except for incidental scrap sales. So for incidental scrap sales, it can be sold, but otherwise it cannot be sold as an agriculture produce. So we grow mango tree, or we grow coconut tree, or maybe we grow tea plants for what? For their produce, not for cutting down and sold them as produce. Of course, there are certain plants which exclusively grown for their wood. Then they will not satisfying third condition. Obviously, they are not considered as agriculture produce. So therefore, if you satisfy all the three conditions, that is called bearer plant. Now the conclusion is whether IND AS 16 is applicable for bearer plant. Answer is yes. If any plant satisfying any of these conditions, this standard is applicable. For example, ITC company producing Ashirvad Atta. Now, so for example, in Punjab, they have so many farms, agriculture farms, where they are growing different types of crops, right? So, whether the plants they are growing, is there bearer plants? How to apply this? First of all, is there used in production or supply of agriculture produce? And is there expected to bear produce for more than one period? And is remote likelihood of being sold as an agriculture produce? That means the plant itself is sold as an agriculture produce. Answer is no. Then it is called bearer plant, and this standard is applicable. Okay. One more interesting point, sir. This standard is applicable for bearer plant, but this is not applicable to the produce of the bearer plant. For example, this standard is applicable for mango tree, but mangoes are not covered by IND AS 16 because mangoes are not PPE. But mango tree is PPE because it is a bearer plant, and bearer plants are covered under IND AS 16. Sir, mango tree is related to agriculture activity, na? Even though it is related to agriculture activity, and for agriculture activity there is a separate standard, but still in the scope we have clearly discussed that biological assets relating to agriculture activity other than bearer plants are not covered under this standard. That means other than bearer plants are not covered under this standard means definitely bearer plants are covered. Okay, so I will show you. So lot of examples are there for bearer plants, sir. We can see, I will show you some of the examples. So for example, mango tree or coconut tree, or maybe tea plants. See, for example, this tea plants you see, na sir, they are also, see this tree plant is definitely what, sir? It is a bearer plant. Why, sir? Because this tree plant is giving tea leaves. Tea leaves is an agriculture produce, and it is giving produce for more than one period, and it is remote likelihood of being sold as an agriculture produce. See, this tea plant cannot be cut down and sold. Once all the leaves are plucked, again in next season it will give the leaves. It will give the agriculture produce. So this is one example, sir. Tea plants is one example. So for bearer plants, the example could be tea plant. And what is the agriculture produce it gives? Tea plant. Tea plant is giving tea leaves. So for tea plant, this standard is applicable, but for tea leaves, this standard is not applicable. And similarly, I can say one more thing. What is that? Palm oil tree. Palm oil tree, sir. See, this is palm oil tree, sir. So where oil will be extracted from this tree, palm oil tree. Now this palm oil tree is also what, sir? So palm oil tree. This is also bearer plant, sir. Because it is give produce, agriculture produce. What it will give? It will give palm fruit. So from that fruit, generally palm oil will be extracted. We will use, na sir, in cooking, palm oil will be used, very cheap source. So palm oil. So that palm oil fruit is given by this, and it is a bearer plant. It is expected to give produce for more than 12 months and remote likelihood of being sold as an agriculture produce. And also we can say, sir, what is that? Rubber plant. So this rubber plant, whatever we use, it is there, na sir, rubber tree. So that can also be considered as what, sir? Bearer plant. Like this. So you know mango tree, definitely. So mango tree definitely is what? Bearer plant, because it is expected to bear produce for more than 12 months. Remote likelihood of being sold as an agriculture produce. Generally mango tree will not be sold. Only mangoes will be sold. So mango tree, like this. And mangoes it will give. Coconut tree, it will give coconuts, like this. And remember, for this IND AS 16 applicable. And for this IND AS 16 not applicable. Only for bearer plant this standard is applicable. Okay. So that's example: mango tree, tea plant, palm oil plant, etc. So this is the scope of this standard. So what we have discussed so far in IND AS 16, we have completed what is the definition of PPE, and I told you the object of the standard. I covered the scope of the standard. So we covered till scope, and I also explained about investment property. So I have given analysis related to investment property also.